Hello, good evening. How's everyone? Hello, Ran. We will look at crude oil as well. Yeah, I am quite bullish for a bit of a bounce here in crude oil. Not sure that we've seen the absolute low, but definitely we've got some more upside, I think. So I'm going to start tonight with Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is a bit like stock indexes. They're all very correlated at the moment. And stock indexes, Bitcoin, they're all the same. We've been sort of sideways underneath resistance in a little bit of a holding pattern. For me, for this last swing, this big 50% level has been resistance 71.87 here at Bitstamp. It's a little bit lower. It could be a rising wedge. In fact, Jacob, I am a little bit concerned that this was a rising wedge. Instead, I've got it in a channel at the moment. But if we had drawn it as this could have been a very nasty bearish pennant here, or a flag. But this would make it. It's a flag if we keep rallying. It's a pennant if we draw it. If we have a false breakout here and drop back below. And what is clear is that this drop was a nice trendy move, and this rally was a choppy, overlapping, corrective move. Now, we've seen that before when we've made bottoms. We've stopped going down, and then we've had choppy, overlapping sideways. And then when we break out of the pattern the other way, like, for example, this low that we made here, you know, whenever in a downtrend you get triangles or wedges, they very often do break down and lower. You know, we were choppy, overlapping and sideways until we broke out of this sideways range here. We did the same before, you know, when we made the low down here back in, oops, I didn't mean to move that, better lock that. Okay, so back in the end of 2018, you know, after we'd had a long-term downtrend and we'd finished, we started very slowly, and what did look like there also another flag or pennant in a downtrend. And it was, in fact, here only when we broke out from this that we got a trend move, and a really strong trend move the other direction. But here we could just have easily have gone, you know, like this, and then. So I think that if we break out from this higher, if we're going to stay bullish rather than just a rising wedge, we do really need to see some quite trendy price action. And by trendy, I mean, you know, when you have a trend, you rally and you have a pullback, and then you rally, and the next pullback doesn't come back into the previous swing, and so on. I'll just leave you all to chat about ducks, and I'll talk about the rising wedge here. So that's what I'm seeing for Bitcoin. I do like this here. If we can continue higher, then we should see at least 8,000, which would take us towards this 200 moving average. But if I put fibs levels on this most recent swing, I suppose we could say that the next would be the 61.8, 79.75. So probably round number 8,000 next. But I think more likely, because I'm looking at this as a harmonic pattern or a fib pattern from this low to this high, because we reversed at an 886, you would normally expect a rally back to the 50% minimum, which would give us 8,500 here. And if we put our fibs on and reverse them from this, I've just locked that, haven't I? If we turn this the other way round, and we look at a complete retrace of this declining wedge, then the 50% from this swing is a little bit higher, 8,800. So somewhere in that range, I think, is where we're going to stop next, or the next swing will take us to, if you like. You know, I'm really looking at this step by step in Bitcoin. I know we've got the halving coming up. That's a massive unknown for me. But for the moment, I think that we're trekking equities. I think equities are due for a bit of a bounce. We're going to have one too. We're bouncing, and we've held the weekly 200 moving average here. So as long as we do that, you know, I'm still looking higher. And, you know, if we get beyond 8,500, I think that 10,000 would be a no-brainer in these previous highs. which in fact were 10,500. So looking good, you know, looking good. That's all we can do is go step by step. And so the next challenge for us is going to be the daily 200 moving average. It really is the king of the chart in terms of trend every time frame. So I like how we're breaking higher. I like how we're pushing through this 50% level. I think that stocks are due for another leg higher as well. We'll look at them in a bit later. And so Bitcoin is too. One of the things that makes me a bit nervous is Ethereum is leading this time. Here's Ethereum. You can see that we've well and truly broken out in Ethereum. Again, we've got the same 886 reversal. It's a bit messy in this one. So we're looking for 222 on the upside. But if we take those fibs away and we do them the other way, we'll take some of these levels away now. You know, we've got a lot of trouble to get through with this daily 200 moving average. That's likely where we're going to see a bit of a pullback next. Eric Burr says, am I still upsizing on pullbacks? I am at the moment. Yeah, in fact, I'm all in long now. So on this breakout today. So, yeah, we'll see where we go. And we'll see if we can get beyond. You know, I'm looking for us to go beyond that 200-day moving average and then find support from it. That would be a pretty good bullish move. But if we take a look at ETH and this whole big correction that we've done, I'm going to put fib retraces on this, both swings at the moment. Because if they're over, let's see. Bit insipid, this colour. Let's put our 236 fib on because, you know, when you think you've got an ABC correction, so if you think about trend moves are normally 5 waves, aren't they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and corrections are normally 3 waves, ABC. If this is a big ABC correction, then you put your fib retrace over both swings, the A, B, and the C leg. And if we do that here, then our first resistance in ETH is this 236 fib level, and this 155, if we've drawn it right, should now be resistance. And our next upside target should be the 38.2, which is up here at 196. Happy days. And that takes us through these moving averages. Now, if we're wrong and the market's just looking at these swings, then this is the 38.2 that we are at now. This 236 kind of got validated, and we really do need to push above this, isn't it? We need to break out to keep going to the 50%. So we're not by no means are we back in an uptrend yet in these major coins. We are just trying to make a base and get back above these daily moving averages. And then if we can, you know, this is also a channel here. Someone saying, cover your mouth if you cough. Okay, I'll try. Giselle, thank you. I haven't been very well with this virus. It wasn't much fun. But, you know, I can't complain because I'm lucky and I'm still here, right? So that's all you can. Let's see if I put on the closes whether I can fit. I'm just going to jiggle a bit to try and get. I like parallel channels. I'm very fond of parallel channels. We'll make it a parallel channel like that. And so here's our parallel channel. So if we can get through the crud here and the daily moving averages here in the middle, then we should be en route for the top here in ETH, and ETH is leading. So if we take a look, for example, then at ETH Bitcoin, look, oops, sorry, here we go. ETH Bitcoin. Big reversal in ETH Bitcoin. And above our daily 200 moving average. Pretty good support in this one. Sorry, my a bit slow here. This one's looking very good for another leg higher as well. It's really choppy and overlapping. I'm not going to say that this, you know, hopefully it would be a leading diagonal. But definitely, in terms of these fibs from these lows, a reversal at a 61.8 fib level. If you get above the 50% level in the middle, which this is, your next target is the 38.2, which conveniently is where this daily 50 moving average is. So we are set for more ETH to outperform Bitcoin for a bit longer. Now, what I would normally expect in a pattern like this is we get up here, we get resistance here, we would come back and retest this middle, and then this 50% in the middle should be support. And if we're going to keep going higher, we should rally from here. So that's what I'm looking for in Bitcoin. In fact, I think it looks quite good. Where are we going to go from here? Let's go out to the weekly and see, do we have legs to have much, much more upside? And this may be, you know, because the halving is quite an unknown, it may be that people decide that they much rather would hang out. You know, they're bullish crypto, but they don't really want to be hanging out in Bitcoin to find out what happens in the halving. Then it makes sense that you would move, wouldn't it? And you would move your assets into something a little bit, you know, that doesn't have that event risk that Bitcoin does and no halving. So I can see an argument for why people would be moving into these kind of major, bigger blue chip altcoins like Ethereum here. If we put our fibs on going this way, again, I think we actually have got further to go at 38.2. I could see 50% that we didn't quite tag of this last swing down being a really good final target. So I'm very open for fundamental reasons, and especially I love these moves above these moving averages in Bitcoin. So I can see a really good argument for moving into some of these other coins and out of the Bitcoin Cashes, because Bitcoin Cash, SV, Bitcoin Cash, ABC, and Bitcoin all have halvings around the same time. So I can see an argument why people would get out of ETH and into Litecoin, into maybe EOS, into ETH, and just get out of the way while we see what happens. And, you know, I don't know what's going to happen, and anybody who tells you that they do, I think, to be honest, they're a little bit of a charlatan. So I'm not, you know, the most, I think the easiest way to predict, excuse me, got a little bit of a sore throat. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. So let's go to the daily up. My charts are moving really slowly. I apologize. The BSV halving is in 3 days, exactly. We've got a few more days for the Bitcoin halving, and then we've got BCH halving after that. So we know we've got a few stuff coming up. In Litecoin, which is another one that seems to be benefiting as well from this, you know, lovely breakout here. We've made a new high. Whenever you have a breakout from a triangle pattern or any kind of a shape like that, then your first risk is the previous high. We've gone beyond it in Litecoin. So new upswing. And Litecoin, if we take a look at we've got, oh, my chart's frozen. Wouldn't you bloody know it when I'm live? Sorry about this. I don't know what to do. No, I can't change chart.
Boris Johnson's been put in intensive care breaking.
Oh, breaking news. Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, has been put into intensive care. As you know, he has coronavirus. That is actually quite serious if you have a position in the British pound. Okay, we're going to take a look. I'm trying to change chart, but I may have to stop this stream. I'm really sorry. I'm not able to change charts. My screen keeps freezing. Here we go. Lag. Here we go. It's because the whole world is on the internet, aren't they? Because they're stuck at home. Okay. Sorry, we just have to sit here and tap our fingers. Litecoin, Bitcoin. So you can see Litecoin, Bitcoin is turning up again. So I think that this halving season could be really good for altcoins, and specifically for the bigger, safer altcoins. I think that Monero could also benefit quite well. Yeah, the internet's been really choppy, hasn't it? It's been like this for a few days. It was quite good up until now, and so I'm a bit disappointed it's chosen to do this right as I've gone live. So there you go. It must be that time of day. Anyway, a lovely breakout here in Monero. So I don't know. I think I'm going to do the same, you know. And what tends to happen is Bitcoin has a bit of a rally. It makes a move, and then when it calms down, goes sideways or has a little bit of back and fill. What tends to happen is the money, if we're all feeling good about crypto, it spreads out into some of the bigger altcoins. So you'll see them go first. The Litecoins, the Dash, the old school, you know, even EOS is now considered a big one. You know, BNB is also, you know, considered one of the bigger blue chip coins. We're seeing a bit of a bid for BNB. I thought that we might see a bigger move after the news about them buying CoinMarketCap, but it's getting there slowly. BNB is now deciding that it's going to make its way and is outperforming Bitcoin as well, challenging the daily 200 moving average. I think if we can get above this 200 moving average, then we should see a really decent move back to this top of the sideways range here in Binance Coin Bitcoin as well. So another really good place to divert your crypto assets to while we get ourselves through the halving. So that's what I'm looking at. If this is just a correction though, where is this going to fail if this is a correction? Let's look at it. It's on a lower time frame. I'm just going to see where the swings come. Here we go. So this is our first swing, our A leg. And this is our C leg. So we've got an A and then A, B, C, B for B leg, and now we're doing our C leg. Then the equal measured move is up here at 27.50, and if I'm right, that should put us above all those daily moving averages. It does. So looking good. I think that we've got a good chance to push our way through these daily moving averages and back to the top of the range, and potentially quite a nice bottoming pattern here in BNB Bitcoin. We could argue that it might be a bit of a broadening wedge if we draw it like this. Here's our broadening wedge pattern. So it's not necessarily a reversal pattern. Here it may be that we come up here, so we've gone A, B, C, D, E, and then we may carry on lower. But you know, it's going to take us at least a month or two to get back up to the top. So this is not a bad place again to hide out in BNB while that's happening. So there's a couple of requests for coins, and then we're going to go and look at some legacy markets. And again, I apologize for the slow internet. It's decided it's, I don't know, you know, I don't know how some people notice like Google is slow at the moment, and Facebook sometimes is a disaster. It's everyone on Facebook. It feels like everyone's using it. But you know, if this has any upside, it'll mean that we probably have a better internet when it's all over. So, all right, so we're going to look at XTZ and Link. I haven't got XTZ open, but I will just get that now. And then we'll, if I can, here we go. There we go. XTZ. So we're going to look at XTZ, Link, Matic, and Ripple. I'm a big Link Bitcoin. I'm a big Link fan. I'm looking at it against Bitcoin at the moment. I tend to, when we're in an uptrend, look at my charts against Bitcoin, because I want to know, is it outperforming Bitcoin for me to spend my Bitcoin on it? Whereas when we're in a downtrend, I tend to look at it against the US dollar because it can be distorted. I do look at both, but for me, we know Bitcoin's going higher, and if Link is green against Bitcoin, then it's going higher than Bitcoin is. So potentially we've made ourselves a really nice base here. The problem is for me that it's underneath the level that I was hoping we'd hold as support. And so what we've really got is a bit of a neutral sideways range that we need to break out of. So here's the lows. We've made a really good base here for the last week, 10 days, 2 weeks really, haven't we? If this is just going to be an ABC correction, then this will be our first leg, and we'll just do a repeat of this and go that little bit higher to this line. I've drawn this line because it comes from these highs. If we look on the daily, this is kind of where our, I haven't drawn it very well, but I feel like that's the support and resistance, you know. And so if we just make an ABC and we stall around 36,715, then that's not going to be the bullish reversal we're looking for. But if we can get beyond that and then find support on the pullbacks, then I do think that we've got a good chance of a nice reversal here. And again, we're going to look higher. that 4-hour 200 moving average will be a bit of a pain, but that first move, that ABC, will take us above the 20 moving average. So for me, when you get above the 20 moving average, your next target is going to be sort of 50% back of this drop and the daily 50 moving average. So we'll do that. So if we can break out, if we go beyond that equal measured move, probably 42,105, and then 50% would take us even higher than that. So, you know, and then we see where we go from there. Very often, 50% isn't a fib move, but it's a very common place for corrections to go to. So if you find that you have a rally that stops at exactly a 50%, it's quite often a sign that this is a correction, and that would be important here in Link, because this would mean this was an A leg and then a B leg, and then we would see, you know, a C leg if we stopped dead at a 50%. So just something to watch out for. Otherwise, you know, there's lots to like about this. We're riding above the 200 moving average in a really nice channel, and you know, hopefully about to turn up again. So yeah, I like Link. If you're looking at Link US dollar or Link US dollar tether, if it will let me take a look, it should do. We'll look at Coinbase. Really nice breakout today, but I think that our trouble is going to come at this previous high and the 200 moving average a little bit high above 2.6 though. We've really done it. If we put fib retrace levels on, you know, the 236 fib is always your touchstone. That's validated it very nicely here. Look, see this 236, that's what we've broken out from today. So our first next target should be this 382, so it's all lining up pretty nicely. 2.83 next, and we should hopefully this time get through this 200-day moving average, and then if we knock our head here, we'll be looking for that 200 moving average to be support on a pullback, and then hopefully carry on higher from there. So it doesn't always work out that smoothly, but that's what I'd be looking for. If this is just a corrective moves, let's see where that rally started. Just looking at here. If this was just a correction, I'm not feeling like it is, but you know, then yeah, a marginal new high above this 38.2. If we can't hold above it, you know, yeah, that wouldn't be, it could be that it's just a correction at the moment, because, you know, remember, we're not really trending yet. We're still in our sideways consolidation zone, really, until we get above and hold above 2.83 in Link US dollar. Okay, so XTZ was the one. Tezos. Sorry. Everything's so slow. Here we go. I do have fast internet. I just think the whole world is using it. Okay. So I like this, you know, this has the look of a little bit of a channel consolidation that we've been doing again for about, you know, a week, 10 days here. 20 moving average is a bit of a problem, and that's exactly where our high is today. So for us to break higher in Tezos, we're going to need to look at these horizontal highs, and today's high is quite important because that's our 20 moving average. So we're almost like we're on the verge of a breakout. If we look at it here on a 4-hour, you can see all these highs. It really is important. 25.95, I think it's probably 25, yeah. 25.90 is the neckline of our, or the top of the channel of this sideways consolidation that we've been in. If we can break above that in Tezos Bitcoin, we've got a nice breakout. If we can't, we'll see another trip back down to the bottom of the channel. Momentum indicators say we look good to break out. You know, simple rules when you have a consolidation zone like this, whether it's a double bottom or a head and shoulders, whenever you can draw a rectangle like this, your first target when you break out is always twice the distance. So if we do that here, that takes us to this 4-hour 200 moving average and these around the area of these previous highs. And so I'd say around 2,800. And then we'll see what happens there if we can break out from this sideways zone. So 2,800. Let's see how that lines up. So potentially, not quite a breakout yet, but we could be setting it up. Tezos Bitcoin. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Look, so our 236 fib lines up with our breakout target. I want to just put them on the right so we can see them. It's not going to let me though. We just chat among ourselves while it decides to work. Here we go, 2,811. So that's our first target on a breakout here in Tezos Bitcoin, and above 2,800, which is pretty strong. We won't get through it probably the first time if you look at this support and resistance here. But if we do, then up we go. Next target back to 3,300. So looking good, but bit more work to do. A breakout would be set us up for the move. Until then, not quite over the hump yet. That doesn't mean that now if you've got some XTZ, that doesn't mean you should sell it. It doesn't mean that, you know, it's not going up in US dollar terms. Clearly it's going to have a really good day in US dollar terms. But if we look at it in US dollar, we're not quite over these highs, are we? Or are we? Hopefully we are. It's not going to let me mark them, so there we go. Again, right at resistance in Tezos US dollar as well, so almost a breakout. We could see a little bit of a setback here and some back and fill before we continue higher. Remember, this is this is just like Bitcoin. This is a big 886 fib reversal. So our target when you do that is the 50% when you reverse it an 886 fib. So 2.35 if you're looking at Tezos in US dollar should be our target. We should get there. So I'm still hopeful. Finally, Matic and Ripple. We'll look at Matic and Ripple and then we'll go look at some other legacy markets. So Matic.
Rob has taken over as Prime Minister.
Oh, Dominic Raab. If you're in the UK, Dominic Raab has taken over as Prime Minister. So here's our Matic network. Now for quite a long time, I'll take the fib off. Quite a long time, we had been held down by this support and resistance level here, coming from these previous lows. If we put a fib on, it didn't really line up with a fib retracement level, did it? I think yes, it was our 236 fib. And so we've broken above it today, 198. That should be support. This is Matic against US dollar. There we go, 170 actually. Now, if you think that this was a big A, B, C correction in Matic, which it could have been, it was fierce, but it was very fierce, but there you go. Then we would put our fibs on both of these swings like this. In fact, is that higher? I would put it on this whole thing. And if we did that, then our first 236 fib would be right here with these daily moving averages at 1541. And if we've got it right, then it'll line up like this. Lines up with our 38.2 fib as well. So next upside target for Matic is 1508. We really do need to get through these daily moving averages and beyond this 50% level if we're going to trend higher. And then if we do, well, again, look at this as a bit of a shallow declining channel like this. We'll go back to the top of the channel again. So that's what I'm looking for. A really nice breakout today. But above 1800, I'll get really excited. Now, do we want to put our precious Bitcoin into Matic? Is it going up? Yes, it is. It's trying to. It's not quite a breakout yet. So it's toe for toe with Bitcoin, but it hasn't quite broken out yet. So I don't think it'll hurt you, but yeah, you're always looking for the best performer. So if this, you know, it does look like it's going to, and in fact most alts do. It looks like we've got a little bit of an alt season coming, and maybe this halving will help that. So that would be very good news. Here's our wedge breakout today, We're just testing it. Our first resistance then is going to be this high, and then these highs and lows. There's a whole, I'm going to say these previous lows probably, and this 200 moving average. So looking pretty good for Matic Bitcoin as well. 198 would be the first place that I'd be looking for trouble. Maybe a little bit higher, and these daily 200 moving average. If all we do, like the worst thing, if you get long, and then all we do is make an ABC correction, so 2 equal measured swings that end up at the 200 moving average and then roll over, then we haven't got a new uptrend. We've just got a correction. So I like the look of Matic, but watch out around 200 and the daily 200 moving average. 200 price against Bitcoin, 200 sat price, and then the 200 moving average. And then finally, Ripple. So I am liking these. Now Ripple, ta-da! Let's get rid of these moving averages for a second and get rid of this. I liked this initially as a bit of a bullish flag, you know. The problem is though, when you really want your flag and your pole to have some kind of balance, so you don't really want your pole, your flag to become bigger than your pole, and we almost have here by how long we have taken to turn around here in Ripple Bitcoin. But we have broken out of a very nice descending channel, and I do feel like this was an ABC correction where this was a messy 61.8 of the first swing, and so I am looking for at least another leg higher here in Bitcoin. This is an hourly in Ripple Bitcoin. This is an hourly chart. So here's our first leg, here's our pullback, and then we should see at a minimum another leg higher from here, like this. Now, if we do this next leg, which is only 61.8 of the first leg, 28.87, and these previous highs are where we're going to get stuck, 28.87. And if we make an equal measured move, 3,083, that would be nice. Let's look big picture though in this one, and we'll start with a weekly chart. Take that off. So, and take our channel off and unmess it. This has been, look at this chart on this weekly. I call this this is like Christmas candy cane, isn't it? Whatever we did last week, we will do the opposite. We have done for 5 weeks. So it would be really good to, and that is what happens when you are in a consolidation. So it would be really good to see us break out of this and get back, you know, to the highs and do that bigger measured move. I think we can, because we'll then be looking at this as then a bigger channel in Ripple. Actually, it wasn't quite. I'm a big fan of parallel channels, but if it was a declining wedge, that's it. We'll say that we'll look for the top of this anyway, and we'll put Fibries on for both of these swings. And that would take us back to the top of this line, would be 50% of this high to the low. So upside target on this breakout, 3,086, I think, for Ripple Bitcoin on this weekly chart and up here. So that would be a nice look. Let's put our ABC on again, see if it lines up. I'm not sure I've drawn everything perfectly correctly. But yes, you can see, look, it does line up. So our ABC equal measured move lines up with 50% from these highs that we made in October 2019, and kind of messily lines up with the weekly trend line here as well. So we'll call that our first target, 3,076 for Ripple Bitcoin. Okay, so now we're going to look at one of the reasons that the legacy markets are so interesting is that because Bitcoin has been so correlated with these markets, and so here in when we bounced off the lows, just like Bitcoin bounced off the lows, we've had a big ABC correction. Now we're on our way higher. The difference between Bitcoin and the S&P is we haven't quite broken out yet. And we are at one of those points where it is quite important resistance and we might not. And so that makes me think we need to be very careful in Bitcoin where we close and that this is not just a false break higher. I am really bullish though, these stocks, they have pumped so much stimulus. And I know it looks like a lot of people are dying, but I hate to say this because if you've lost somebody or you're sick, I know you'd be feeling very sad, but relative to the flu, which also kills a lot of people with, diminished immune systems, this is not killing that many people. I know it's dreadful if it's someone and mainly because of the restrictions that they've put on, but the money they are pumping into the system, I don't see going into the real economy. I see going to the banks and going to go into assets. And so if we do bounce back from this virus pretty quickly, which I'm starting to think we might, then this money will all go somewhere and it will definitely go into stocks. What I like at the moment is how gold as well is rallying with the S&P. We saw that in 2008. It's like everybody's buying everything again. So major resistance at 26.40, but I am looking for at least another leg higher here. And if this was leg one, A leg, and this was our ABC correction, and we can make another leg higher from here, then let's measure it and see where we go, because I'm looking at this is our bottom here, isn't it? I'm looking at the E-mini S&P. I find it easier to chart than the index because it doesn't have all the gaps. And if we look at the equal measured move from this low, it takes us to the big 61.8 retracement up here at 29.32. And so our first resistance is going to be this 4-hour 200 moving average, 27.44. First target, and second target, 29.28. They're such big numbers. The volatility is so crazy in this S&P. Now this, if we look at our daily chart, for me, we've been held down until now by the daily 20 moving average. And when you get above the daily 20 moving average, you're normally looking for a return to the 50 moving average. So that also is another vote for this 29.28 level, if we can break higher here. And the other thing I'm looking at, I've got an RSI on here. And the RSI has one of those things where the 50% level, the midline, very often is a support and resistance. So it lines up with support and resistance. You can see that happened here and the trend carried on higher and so on. If we push through this 50% level on the RSI when we break out here in the S&P on the daily, that for me says, another bigger swing higher coming in the S&P. So that's what I'm looking for. We've also got, a lot of the other indexes at resistance. Here's a daily chart of the DAX. There's no futures in the DAX, so we have lots of gaps. And well, there are, but it closes. So here we've got this resistance, I think a break above this resistance, and we'll see a pretty nice move higher as well. So all of them are lined up in the same place, just underneath resistance, waiting to see if we can go higher. But after, in the DAX as well, we've done an ABC correction. I think it's all lined up for another swing higher in this one too. So barring a catastrophe, and if something happens to our Prime Minister in the UK after we've just had this massive landslide election, that would be a catastrophe. Here in the FTSE, we've got a 61.8 reversal, and we've had a bit of a messy move here, but I'm looking for this to rally higher if all goes well with him, and up to 61.36. But we should take a look at the pound, because the pound was all set for a bullish move today, and this will not be good news at all about Boris Johnson for the pound going forward. In fact, the pound's been sold off. So I'd say look out below in this one. Let's go to the daily. one of the reasons this is a big bit of a tricky level for the pound is this is one of those 50% levels. Okay. So from this high to this low, where we stopped was exactly a 50%. When you reverse at a 50%, like mean reverting markets tend to keep reverting. When you reverse at a 50% like that, then your target is 50% back in on yourself. So you put your fibs then when you reverse on the whole swing. When you break the 236 fib, which we're sitting on, you can see this. Okay, I'll just take that 38 out away in the middle. So below 1.2233, our target is 50% back at 1.1950. So if we break down here, so are we breaking down? I think we are. I haven't quite got there yet, have we? So remember, 50% mean reversion always looks for more mean reversion. So here we're looking for a breakdown. Not quite yet. But if we do, then here's our short setup in the pound from here down to here. No, it's not. It's not good news for the pound, and it's annoying because actually the pound yen setup was a really nice setup as well. Here's our pound yen. We were looking at the same 50% level, looking for a break above this 50% level. We are at risk of the same bearish reversal here. Even, you know, the yen tends to rally. The yen tends to sell off, and the dollar yen tends to rally when stock markets rally. So all of these yen crosses should have rallied, but this is not pretty good for the pound. So, you know, this is no different to Donald Trump. If Donald Trump got put into hospital, believe me, the markets don't like uncertainty. So it's got nothing to do with whether you like Boris Johnson or not, or whether you like Donald Trump or not. Markets just don't like uncertainty, and so they will de-risk. So they will get out of their positions, and that's all that we're seeing. And that's quite interesting because we had a big level in the euro pound, and I wasn't sure which way this euro pound for me. Okay. Here, you know, I thought we were going to see a big bounce in the euro. This is the 200-day moving average that we were sitting on, previous highs and lows in this one. If we go to the weekly, this is also the weekly 200 moving average. Like if we really were going to see a decent bounce in the euro pound, this is an amazing level to do it from. And down here, if we look at the price action here, looks like after a little double bottom today that, yeah, this is quite a nice setup in the euro pound as well. If you were going to sell the pound, I think it'll only work until he gets better, but because the euro's got all of its own issues. Perhaps if we looked at some of the others, maybe I think one of the ones that we were looking at today was the pound Aussie, and the pound Aussie. We'll get to and the pound Aussie was the reason we were looking at this. I'm going to go to my monthly chart. Okay. So we've got a big fib level here in the pound Aussie on the monthly, here at 2.049. We've got also, my chart won't let me move it to show you yet, so I'm just going to have to, here we go. There we go. Try again. Okay, so big fib level for me, this is a retest of the 38.2, very good support and resistance level, but most importantly, if I measure from this low to this high, this swing is 61.8 of the first swing. So if we were going to make some kind of consolidation pattern like a wedge or whatever, then this is the level where we would see resistance. And for me, because of the way that this has played out, and this first leg was to a perfect 50%, if we break above this level, we've got a really big rally. But this pound weakness and this news is going to give us a little bit of a setback here. And so this is another one where we could be looking, this is a monthly chart, remember, where we could be looking for a bigger reversal in the pound against the Aussie dollar. And you know, the Aussie dollar does tend to outperform when stocks are doing well. It looks like China's recovering ahead of Europe, doesn't it? So you could make a good macro argument for why the pound Aussie, the Aussie is going to recover quicker than the pound, mainly because of China recovering. So funky looking triple top today here, and a reversal in the pound Aussie. I think the pound Aussie is actually a much better trade than maybe the euro pound. We looked at the pound dollar first. We're seeing if this little flag short term will break down. It was a 50% reversal. Our target is 1.1950 if we do break down here in the pound and this little bear flag. Okay, oil, which is one of my favorite subjects, oil. Oil. And I'm gonna start with a really nice clean chart, and I'm gonna go to the monthly chart. Is Swiss francs a good place to be in? If you mean buying them, it is a good place to be in. The problem is that if you're buying Swiss francs, you're always trading against the Swiss National Bank, which I'm not a very big fan of. So, yes, it is in times of stress. But if the market's going higher again, I would say probably not, no. Now, here's my monthly chart of the front month continuous WTI against US dollar. So this is WTI front month continuous. I've drawn my fib from the low that we made in 98, this big low that we made here. And I put it all the way up to the high that we made in 08 before the big drop. And I'm using it mainly because these fib levels have worked so well, okay? So this first swing bounced from a 786 fib, went all the way up to the 236. We were sure we were going to go to the 30, but it went be the extra mile. This next leg bounced from an 886 fib and rallied all the way back. We didn't quite get to our 50% target. Almost. Now, 61.8 is, the number, isn't it? The Fibonacci ratio number. The reason that we use the 786 is it's the square root of 61.8. And we use the 886 because that's the square root of 786. So if we extend that and we're looking for where our next level might be, then we're looking for 9.412. I'm just saying, I think that we'd got to a level where I thought we had a really decent chance of a bounce. If this is a declining wedge in oil, like this, and we had this trend line, I thought if we held under this trend line that we wouldn't, but we were really oversold. So when you break these fib levels, they become support and resistance. So what we've done here is we rallied very sharply back to retest this 886 fib level, 26.22. So 26.22 for me now becomes key as to whether we're going to go higher. We've recovered this level, and if we're going to keep going higher, it should be support. So here we are sitting right on that support today. We've pulled back, I think, this nice little correction, and see how it was, and we're back testing a fib level. See how it was really good resistance, and now it's support here on this hourly chart and support. I think that this is looking really good. I'm looking for us to start our next leg higher now. We've got Monday out of the way, and another leg higher, hopefully, in oil. The problem is that this is also a little bit of a important. If we go like this and we go to a 4 hour, you can see that we've really struggled to break out of our 4 hour range, really, haven't we? So that if we do break back under this 886 fib level, I think that we're going to end up with a bigger corrective pattern. So we're going to end up with something all the way down here. Where would we come back to? Well, oil's favorite fib level is the 786 fib. So we're going to come all the way down here. Eric, do you know, I feel sorry for my group because while we're doing quarantine, we're doing a lesson every day, technical analysis lesson every day. And I think I'm going quite fast. So anyway, so I would say if we can't hold 26.40, there's a good chance that we're going to do a deep pullback back to around 21.42, if not a retest of the lows. But I'm pretty optimistic here, that we could hold on. So I'd like to see us go green. If you're not very good at candlestick patterns, I recommend using high Kanashi candles. When they go from red to green, they give you a really good signal. They're like a moving average on a candlestick, and they're very reliable on higher time frames. If you look at the signals you get when you go, this is a 4-hour chart, when you go from red to green, they're really powerful. They don't tend to be false, do they? So that's my big tip for new people to technical analysis anyway. So I'm a little bit bullish here in WTI and looking for another leg higher. And if we do that, we will head back obviously to 40 first, which would be the 786 fib and then the daily 50 moving average. I think eToro is a very good platform, not dodgy at all. Yes, you can. I'm pretty sure you can trade those on eToro. Yes, I know you can, because I know someone in my group does, yeah. Eric, come and join my group. If it's not for you, it's only £30 a month. And if it's not for you, then you can... £25, sorry. It's $30, £25. If it's not for you, and you decide you haven't got the time for it, you get your money back as well. Okay? So, I'm looking for higher. Let's look at the Brent oil chart and see if it bears out what we said, because Brent oil actually got much harder hit. Let's look at the monthly chart of Brent. Because I have a much clearer level in Brent here. And for me, this was an 886 fib. So I need to tidy up I need to hide some stuff here because I've got quite a lot of squiggling. I'm always looking for confluence, okay? So I'm always looking for levels and things that all line up. And let's take these moving averages off for now. Here, this is I've got high Kanashi on, I don't really need them. This is my Brent oil chart. And I'm going in again from December 98 to the highs that we made in July 08. And these fib levels worked perfectly again in this one. I'm going to hide this again because I don't want that out of the way. And so you can see what I like though, unlike WTI, Brent is much more technical. And here we bounce perfectly from the 786 fib. And here in Brent, we bounce perfectly from this 886 fib. In fact, we didn't close the monthly underneath it. So if we're going to rely on, it's a bit like gold and silver. You can look at gold for direction, but silver is much, much more technical for my money than gold is. And the same here in Brent and WTI. I think that the Brent levels are, so for me, this is a quite nice bullish reversal. The problem is, and I'm just going to hide this one as well. The problem is when you reverse at an 886 fib level, which is here at 25.28, you have only confirmed your reversal if you close above the 786, which is the previous one in the staircase, if you like, and these lows. So 39.07. So our upside target in Brent is 39.07. And only if we get above 39.07 do we trigger that 886 50% pattern. And that would be very cool because above 39.07 in Brent, our target is 78.53. So it's not a bullish reversal yet for oil. Above 39.07 in Brent, front month Brent, that is. It would be, if we can get out of this is the May contract. Okay, we've got about another week of this before we roll over into June. So this is the front month futures contract at the moment. You can see that we've got the sideways range. We stalled at these previous highs. We had a little bit of a false break higher, but we actually haven't. And so we're in a sideways range. We're going to put our fibs on from this low to high. We're going to say if we lose here, if we lose our 38.2, which is here. So if we lose this low of this short-term range, we're likely to come all the way back to these previous lows and a 786 retrace, which would be much bigger. We'll put that in at least. So 21.29. So major support at 25.29. If we lose 25.29, we're going to drop another $4 to 21.29, or aka 20%. That would be. So be careful. 25.29 major support going on. Okay. So that's everything tonight. I am sneakily bullish Bitcoin, but I'll be much more comfortable if these stock indexes can break out from their sideways ranges. Here's the one that we're looking at in the DAX. Okay, and here's the one that we're looking at in the S&P. I think in the S&P we're creeping above it now, and so that's a very good sign. It's very interesting how Bitcoin led the way. And you know, before in risk on, risk off moves, Bitcoin, if you overlay them, Bitcoin always goes first. So if Bitcoin's, so it's quite a good leading indicator for the S&P, so, and other risks. So breaking higher above 2640 in the S&P is also pretty positive now that our Bitcoin is likely to, let's put that one up, our Bitcoin is likely to keep going. Here's Ripple, and this isn't a false breakout, hopefully, from this sideways range and this short-term 50% level, because this is the short-term 50% level I was looking at. Okay, so more upside. Again, I think 8,500 to 8,800, and then hopefully we're looking at 10,000 next for Bitcoin. We should now have support at 71.98 if we can close above it. We see a little bit of a shallow pullback, and because this has been choppy, overlapping, and potentially a rising wedge, I'd really like to see some more impulsive price action from Bitcoin. By impulsive, I mean that we'll see a strong rally and then pull back and then rally and then pull back, and they won't bleed into each other, these corrections. So that's what I'm hoping for. Fingers and toes crossed. But again, this halving is a big unknown. It might be that we're seeing people moving to altcoins because they don't want to deal with the unknown. Okay? Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. See you next week. Stay well. I know it's very, listen, for a lot of people, and like 1/3 of the world is confined to their homes at the moment. I know it's very difficult. I'm not enjoying it. Hope you're all managing, and just find your own space and be nice. Okay, thanks everyone.